Have you ever found yourself after a game of D&D debating over a particular rule that came up and trying to figure out, as a group, how to break it? As a DM, do you get that feeling of dread when your player asks, if you look at it this way? Well, we decided to turn that into a podcast. A group of DMs come together every episode as we discuss how, rules as written, we can figure out how to maximize what we can do with a rule and how we can use other rules to break the game. Each episode, we will be joined by a guest, including DMs from some of our favorite podcasts, and get a sneak peek behind the DM screen from some of our favorite shows as they share their own thoughts and experiences on a particular rule and how it has affected their games. Please feel free to jump in on our discussions by leaving us a comment on Podbean, iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher, or feel free to email me at dm@dndraw.com, or send us a tweet to @rulesaswritten and let us know how the rule may have come up during one of your games or how you figured out a way to break the game that we didn't discuss. So, thanks for joining us. Hey everyone, I'm Tony.
Hi, this is Bethany.
Hey, this is Rachel.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Giuseppe.
Today, we will be discussing crafting and tool proficiencies, part 2.
So I guess that was kind of one of the questions I was looking at. Some of these tool proficiencies, I don't want to say they're worthless, because that's mean.
They are.
But I don't see a situation where someone's like, darn it, if only we had weaver's tools, everything would be different in this situation.
Well, when you find yourself with nothing but a bunch of hairy men and no rope at the bottom of a pit, you will wish you had weaver's tools.
Potter's tools are useless.
No, I want Potter's tools. Potter's tools are the way to go.
What are you talking about? When are you going to need Potter's tools? Even the person writing the blurb for Potter's tools needed some difficulty to figure out what to use it for.
But I want to find the weak point in a ceramic object.
It's a ceramic object. It's all breakable.
Just be Link and toss it on the ground.
The weak point is that it's ceramic.
No, basically Potter's tools make you the worst archaeologist ever, where you're like, sorry guys, I only do pottery. So if anything else comes up, any hieroglyphs, I got nothing, but show me the shards.
Clay shards?
I'm on it.
Oh, man.
It's a really sad DCs for the example DCs because it's determined what a vessel held, create a serviceable pot. Not even good, just serviceable.
Yeah, 15
and
DC.
find a weak point in a ceramic object, which is a DC 20.
Potter's tool proficiency DC 15 make a
pot.
serviceable?
Serviceable. Not even a good one.
The first day at one of those, like, freaking summer camps, they sit you down in front of a pottery wheel and you make a serviceable pot.
As a child.
Yeah, 6-year-olds make a serviceable pot and they talk about how fun it was to play with the clay.
Yep.
That's not a DC 15 check. That's a DC 3.
Yeah, so basically, Potter's tools make you a really crummy potter.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. And
so
I feel
depressing.
bad. It's really
That is so depressing. I have my head in my hands. I was instinctively
what
just
happened? Why
hiding
did
from
they-
the sorrow of the situation.
I want to know why this didn't get scrapped. I feel like someone fought for it. They're like, no, people want to make pots, okay? It's important. If they want to blow glass, they also want to make pots. And I'm like, oh gosh, no.
Yeah, I was trying to look to see, like, what seems like the worst?
Smiths can make pots.
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes you need that ceramic, all right? Not the metal. Metal
Well, you can't put metal in your D&D microwave.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, and that's a big concern, you know. Because that ceramic stuff, that's what's going to last, unless it gets broken. Because it's ceramic.
I can't stop laughing about how bad these tools are.
Tony, you brought up the glass blower or something, but if you look up, glass blowers can determine what a glass object once held.
Yep.
But it's a DC 20.
Yep.
DC 20.
It doesn't parallel at all.
That's really difficult. Jeez Louise, like...
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm looking at all the glass blower
So if
tool
it's
stuff.
shaped like a gravy boat, it probably, and it's made of ceramic, you have to get a DC 10 or higher to determine that it held gravy.
Well, you know what? That makes
Yep.
sense, though, because, like, ceramic, things can bleed into it. Especially older ceramic. Glass is not going to happen.
But in a sense, I think what Rachel's saying is glassblower makes you even worse than the potter.
Well, hold on. What's the DC to make something serviceable out of glass?
It doesn't say.
There-
You don't even
there
There
is
is
one.
no DC. And I'm just looking at, you can just identify a weakness in glass by spending 1 minute looking at it rather than rolling a
weakness is
DC
that it's
20.
glass. Why does it
It's
take you a
dragon
minute
glass.
to know that?
Tempered glass, man.
Yeah. This is a valuable skill,
It's
okay?
Pyrex.
Oh my god, wow, there's actually only 2 things listed.
Any
Yeah.
damage dealt to the object by striking a weak spot is doubled.
Because it's
But it's glass.
For
But
those
it's glass.
who don't have the glassblower's tool description in front of them, the
Yep.
only 2 listed activities are to identify a source of glass and to determine what the glass object once held.
Yep.
How many sources of glass are there, though?
They
really?
didn't even do the courtesy of telling you what it would take to make a lens, which would actually be useful.
Useful. Yeah.
So
You can
DC
make
30.
fire. You can make yourself one of those fancy 1000 GP looking glasses.
Yep. You could make yourself a
spyglass?
like a spyglass if you went far enough, or a magnifying glass. No, that's not what this is about. This is about determining what the glass held.
What about my novelty monocle?
I'm liking also under investigate that it mentions, when you study an area, your knowledge of glass can aid you, but only if clues include broken glass or glass objects.
Aha! There is broken glass here.
He
I can
came in
determine.
through
No,
the
no.
window, I can tell,
it's
because the window is
aha.
broken.
There's
It's like
ceramic here. I'm no good.
Oh, no, sorry, I'm out.
I'm out. Where's the
If
Potter?
only we had Potter's tools.
Yeah. So I think what we've determined is there's the useful skills, the interesting tools, and then there's the ones that are just utter garbage.
I
Well,
wouldn't say they're other garbage. They're used for flavor.
special mention goes for jeweler's tools having the ability to roll
Yep.
Arcana and determine the mystical properties of gems. And Giuseppe can.
Whoa, wait, that's a thing?
That's a thing.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah,
my
man.
gosh.
Giuseppe has a wonderful tale about this.
We
Do
rolled up
tell,
a
sir.
bunch of gems in that Dwarven Ruin I was talking about. And everyone wanted to know, because I've already established that you can use gems for various rituals in my setting. To store magic in or to transmute the gems into different things. Gems have a lot of magic associated with them. The fighter did not know
I
what
do
the
not
gems
have
did.
proficiency in jeweler's tools.
And the Forge Cleric's like, I know that they do stuff, but I'm not sure. Can I roll history? And I'm like, sure. You can even add your proficiency because you've got all these different tool proficiencies, and they don't necessarily apply. But you're a Forge Cleric. You're this is your thing. And he rolls a 2. So the result is that I say, tell me what gems you want to know about, and meanwhile I'm pulling up New Age websites and just reading the descriptions of the health benefits of various, gems if you rub them on you or wear them or ingest them. And there's a lot of they're all in on
My
the health
fighter-
benefits of Jasper now.
My fighter is
Wow.
carrying around a group of moss agates in case he comes across a field that is not growing any crops, so he can just bury those jewels there.
Because they promote plant growth.
There you go.
Aw,
Oh.
that's sort of sweet. So you're a bunch of hippies.
My fighter
is a
my fighter's
total hippie.
super hippie.
The fighter
You're
found
like-
out that he was going to potentially be able to drop by a druid's grove in the next area they're going through, and he, like Michael, stood up from the table and just said, "Everyone get your stuff, we're going. My people need me." Very excited to go back to the commune.
So I guess jeweler's tools could have been useful, Rachel, when your character is always trying to swipe any crystalline structures or gems
Yep.
or that are in
Yep.
any caves, but she has a pick, so she just sort of wails on the wall until things
Yep.
fall off.
It's so
Yep.
cool that you can just identify what the value is at a glance.
That'd be
Having a
amazing.
Yeah.
rogue that has proficiency in jeweler's tools must be great.
And he's like, aha, 50 gold. Nice.
Yeah,
The
like
best
I'll
part is-
take that one, and that one. You can keep the rest. They're glass.
Yeah.
Like, wait, what?
See, my character wouldn't even care, though, how much they're worth. Be like, are
Yeah.
they sparkly?
Shinies.
How shiny are they?
On a scale of
shinier
1
the
to
better.
shiny.
So I feel like we've talked about almost all of the tools at some point in this conversation. There's a few we haven't really, like carpenter's tools. Tony sort of referred
Mason's
to.
tools.
Wood carver's tools.
Mason's
Navigator's tools.
Navigator's sort of just the ocean cartographer, right?
Yeah.
How about wood carving?
Yeah, wood carving, not
Ooh.
carpentry. Wood carving.
Wood carving.
You can craft arrows with wood carving.
We didn't really talk about Poisoner's Kit, but I mean,
Well, that-
Briefly mentioned, but
yeah.
But we should talk about Poisoner's Kit. I like a Poisoner's Kit, and a lot of characters get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but poison...
Poison is either an...
What's the polite
a
way to say
win
that poison's
or-
hot garbage in 5th edition?
Nope,
It's hot
that's a
garbage.
pretty nice way to
the
say
polite
it.
way. Yeah. I think it's more the idea of poison than how poison actually works, because I think, Tony, was it in your game someone kept wanting to create poison?
Well, okay, so basic poison costs like 100 gold or something like that, and you get 3 uses of it, and it just causes them to take the poison condition.
Yeah, which is not good.
You're
which
like,
is
ugh.
disadvantage
they're
on
sick.
attack rolls, and it's for a minute, but if they make the save, then nothing happens, and you spent 33 gold on 1 use.
You spend so much money, like more money than like a commoner sees in months,
Yep.
to give someone slight nausea.
Yeah,
Yep.
I want to give them at least salmonella or something. You
Like,
know?
they don't even have the runs.
Like, the thing that I'm concerned about with Poisoner's Kit is, or with poisons in general, is that either they're super useless like they are, or they're just, like, game-breakingly
Well,
powerful.
they break the HP.
What, you mean
mechanic.
like purple worm venom?
Oh, Tony's got a story there.
Oh boy,
Well.
hit me.
Oh, hold
My
on.
body is ready.
Wait. Basic poison is a DC 10 Constitution
Yes.
saving throw,
Yes.
It's literally...
It is garbage.
Yeah.
and it costs 100 gold.
And it
Yeah.
It
does
is
1d4
But-
poison damage. Nice.
But if you harvest your own purple worm venom,
It's even worse. Okay, never mind. I'm not gonna.
it's bad.
Alright, so hit
Is
me
it-
with this
yeah,
purple
no,
worm venom.
You could go ahead.
You can use the poison to coat 1 weapon or 3
Yes.
pieces of ammunition.
That's what it was, yes.
So it's not even necessarily 3 uses.
Yeah.
No, I think I was thinking of the 3 pieces of ammunition.
Yeah, because I think that's what
Oh
I
wait,
did
no,
before.
okay, if you put it on a melee weapon, it's good for 1 minute. So every attack for 1 minute, you make them make the easiest save in the world or take 1d4 damage.
Haha. Yeah. That'll really stick it to your enemies.
And it actually doesn't apply the poison condition.
So yeah.
Oh, it's just the 1d4
It's just
poison
1d4
damage?
poison damage.
Yep.
No condition. But still, I want
I want to hear purple worm venom.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, let's just... I'm just in awe of how bad that is.
Yeah, so in Out of the Abyss, there is a little side quest thing they can do while in Menzoberranzan. And they go up to this basically thug leader who has 4 different daggers, each coated in purple worm venom. And it doesn't say in the book like all that she can do, but I'm just like, yeah, she's gonna just draw them, stab, drop, and stab, and just keep doing that. Just keep switching daggers.
Worth noting, that's
Because-
8,000 gold worth of value.
Yep.
Yeah, she had 4 of these.
Okay.
And I was
So-
like, kill her before she uses them so we can save them.
Well,
Because
the
that's
one
kind of
really
player
bad
I am.
thing was, I think you got hit with one of these,
I did.
Bethany.
It was not great.
And con save DC 19 and takes 12d6 poison damage.
Oh,
Hey,
It
half
was-
on a save, which you won't make.
And
No.
half on a success.
oh
it did
boy.
not go well. I did not die. was a
No,
little
but you went
dicey.
from like full health to bloodied really quickly.
Yeah.
Oh geez.
But-
But she missed by throwing like 1 or 2 of the daggers, so the party now like 2 of the members of the party had a purple worm venom encoded dagger for a 1-use shot, and they're like, yeah, we're saving this for the big bad.
Yeah, and it worked out. So overall, you're saying Poisoner's Kit is only good if you get good poison, and the book doesn't really give you good poison by default.
No, the good one is the purple worm venom, which you guys also harvested at one point.
oh
Well,
boy.
yeah. I mean, what's the point of
That-
killing a purple worm if you're not going to get purple worm venom? So there's something I actually kind of want to bring up that we've sort of addressed. I think there's a desire not just for crafting in general from players, but to take advantage of the things they've killed.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And-
Everyone wants to play Monster Hunter. And I don't blame them. It's amazing.
Yeah, like in my game, they killed a dragon turtle, and they're like, "Man, this dragon turtle leather is epic! Like,
How
we
much
can
can
make
we
something
take?
really. How much can we take? What can we make out of it? How do we do that?" And I feel like it, as we've said before, the game doesn't really want you to do that, or at least it doesn't want to tell you how to do that.
Gaspar, what are you wearing right now?
I'm wearing some. What was it? The white spine? Yeah, I'm wearing white spine chitin armor right now.
Correct.
It's pretty good. Nice half plate.
They had a big solo
Oh, gosh.
encounter that just messed them up. But they felt really good when they took this thing down about carving the gem out of it, because it had a gem at its heart, and then just taking its body and just harvesting it for parts. The Forge Cleric has its spines all over his new plate mail. The fighter is literally wearing it as armor. It's chitin. And they like it. They feel good about it.
But, okay, this brings up, we haven't really talked about cobbler's tools, and I made fun of them earlier. But
Hey.
I think you could make some pretty epic shoes with the right creature, with the cobbler's tools.
I'm looking at you, leather boots made out of a blink dog.
Oh.
Look, all I'm saying is cobblers, don't sleep on them, because cobbler's tools give you a benefit against exhaustion during travel. So,
For the 6 of us who use travel rules.
otherwise you just Uber there.
So, something we haven't talked about, but I wanted to. Which ability score you use to make checks with these various different tools, because it really doesn't tell you, and I think I'm happy about that.
I agree with that assessment. I think it should be incredibly flexible. I'm biased. I can't imagine running 5th edition without using the optional rule, which didn't used to be optional, used to be core, that not even skills had assigned abilities. You would just pick a skill and then determine what ability check you used with it. And that's how I operate with non-skill proficiencies, with the tool proficiencies and everything, and skills. I can't run the game without it. But I think if we're looking just by the books, it's good that there's not an ability score assigned, because then you can have that flexibility.
Yes.
Right, as we were talking about earlier, if you're gonna, write a travel log, it could be intelligence or charisma based on what we were discussing.
Yeah. Well, and then even some of them, it depends on what you're doing specifically. Like, if going back to the poisoner kits, if you're trying to identify, maybe that's a survival. But if you're trying to create, that might be more dex based because you're being very careful, or intelligence based. So those are two different abilities or skills used to it, because it's you're doing different things but with the same tool.
I mean, that's what you wound up doing for me when I was smithing also. I was trying to take apart some armor and then reforge it into a finer item. So you wind up doing one strength check for a particular aspect of the skill, and then one dex check for another one, while still adding the proficiency.
Yeah, that's because you'd been building up an excitement about crafting for a while, and I was like, all right, we're gonna let you do it, because I think that was when you had collected, how much stuff had you collected? Tony has the bag of holding.
Much.
So
All
he
of
just
the
would
Dragon Balls?
he would just gather
All of the Dragon
everything
Balls.
and stuff it all in the sack, and then later was like, all right, here's what I've got, and would roll out this inventory of, all right, I've got so many sets of this type of armor and this and shields and stuff, and what can I do with this? What can I take apart, and how do I make that happen?
Yep. How do I make my half plate for my fighter barbarian so I can still rage and get all those benefits?
And you got there, yeah. But
Yeah.
I think it does make sense to have different checks for different things. I think it's a little tough, maybe if you're a new DM or you're a new player, to get a handle on what am I actually doing.
Definitely. Especially, if you're talking about crafting, because that's the one that keeps coming up. Intelligence, wisdom, even strength to actually do the crafting. If you're forging something with smith's tools, you need strength to swing the hammer and mold the metal.
Yep.
You need wisdom, because that's kind of always been the traditional crafting stat, because you need the wisdom to know how everything will fit and go together, and you need intelligence to know the plans.
So would you say that you would use dexterity for, glassblower's tools or jeweler's kit?
I definitely would, but an argument could be made for wisdom, because it's sort of folk knowledge. An argument could be made for intelligence, because, no, there's very clear instructions, and I have them memorized, and I go by the book.
I mean, wisdom used to manage profession checks back in 3.5, so there is an argument and a precedent for that.
I guess I would have to say, as a DM, maybe I err on the nice side, and I tend to go with the skill that the player character is good at. If they're stronger, I figure that as a character, they would be using that, where Tony's fighter was.
Well, I think that's
doing
fair.
More forging. Yeah, and of course he described it that way, because
Yeah,
I think a lot
was
of it's
trying
up
to make
them.
it a point in such a way that I was like, well, I'm trying to literally beat this thing down into
I am
a
beating
more
it into
malleable
shape.
form.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if I cut all of my cooking ingredients very aggressively and mash things up, I can use strength, is what I'm hearing.
I don't know. Are you
just-
doing it with finesse to make it dex, or
Are you just pulverizing it, making it all
I
into a
take
pulp?
the hammer and bring it down.
Yeah, it's just a lobster shell that I'm just crushing in a little bit.
For me, I'd say I differ based on the player's experience level to a large extent. Rachel obviously has more experience with RPGs than I do, so she's really comfortable as a player explaining what she's doing, whereas a lot of new players are
They want the
looking at this
stat.
going, they're like, I have a stat that says I have this.
What can I do?
What can I do with it?
Yeah.
How do I use it? And I think it's the same with all the tool proficiencies where they'll be like, I have this thing. Like, one of our new players, I think I told you guys about this. She's an assassin rogue because it's her first character I helped her build because that's a great first character. You get to feel like you're amazing at assassinating and it's pretty straightforward. But she's a performer, so she has proficiency with a musical instrument. And she was really excited about that, but she's like, okay, so I want to like do a performance with this instrument. Like, what does that mean?
How do I
do that?
Yep.
And I think the rules don't really provide a guide for that, so it's kind of up to the DM
Yeah,
to sort of
it definitely is.
lead the player through that process. And she's gotten way more into it now that she has a sense for it. And also, she literally can't have a bad performance now because she's a rogue.
Nice.
Yep,
So-
that'll do.
Minimum 21.
Yeah. And actually, that kind of is really good because, like, this last week I had my spring break camp, and I was playing in the game, but I was also pseudo co-DMing with the student DM, who it was like her first time actually DMing. So she had a lot of problems where, like, you know, there's 2 other students, and they would just go off the rails, of course, because they're like, one of the girls is like 9 and all over the place. And she's like, I want to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, okay. And then, Emmy, the girl that was DMing, is like, I could totally have her do that, right? And I'm like, yeah. And then she'd like lean over and be like, okay, what kind of check is that? And I'm like, well, I mean, she said she's going to be like dancing. So that's like acrobatics or performance. And she's like, okay. And she just, lean over and tell the girl like that she had to do an acrobatics. So she was like trying to figure out how to fit everything in. So it was like the opposite of new players who were like, I have these skills, how do I use them? And then we had the DM who was like, they want to do this thing, what skills do I apply? So it's always knowing what and where. And DCs are hard.
Does kind of also get at the heart of who's calling for checks. Are the players suggesting their checks, or is it up to the DM to actually be calling for every check? And that's kind of a contentious topic among some tables. I am of the mind that I guess I don't really mind when players suggest a check, because we've been playing for like 10 years, the same group, more or less. Some people come in, some people come out, but the core of it's been the same for a long time. So when someone proposes a check, it's probably what I was going to ask them for. But with a new group, I kind of set the expectation, you just tell me what you want to do. In fiction, I will tell you what you need to roll. But unfortunately, that puts all of the onus on the DM to then educate these sort of contentious waters, like, is that an intelligence check or a wisdom check?
Yeah, I guess I would say we kind of have a hybrid approach because we've got in our face-to-face game, well, actually in both of our games in the podcast too, a broad spectrum of experience levels. So I'd say for some checks, everyone knows when they want to make a perception check. Like, that's solid. It's when you get to more squirrely ones, like, I guess investigation checks sometimes or other things that I think as a DM, I tend to let the players tell me what they're doing because they're all pretty actively engaged. I don't have to worry about them saying, oh, I thought you were waiting for me to ask if I was doing anything, because typically they're all like, raring to go.
Maybe you used my trigger word because you picked the worst example, which is the investigate check.
Yeah.
Because every player in the world tries to turn that into a perception check.
Yes.
And I have to crack down.
We only have one. You know who it is,
we only
Rachel?
have one now.
It was Chris.
I don't know what you're talking about. He would
Rachel's
never.
husband. He would lobby every time. But could you not say, because he's a monk, I was like, no, but he let it go. But otherwise, I think we settled things out. It was mainly just an issue with traps.
But we discussed this. They're very different skills in my mind.
Yep.
So I cracked down on that one heavily.
Yeah.
But again, I ask for weird things. Just this last session, a lot of people were doing their own thing, trying to gather rumors. And all of the gather rumor checks were investigate, but they were doing them differently. The bard was chatting people up and playing songs and just doing things. So it's investigate, but with charisma. Go.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing. Like, the ranger is doing the same thing, trying to gather information about things going forward. But he was just running between job boards and just literally trying to find bounties and stuff to try to get information from that. And it's like, that's kind of just a normal investigation check, but you want to get this all done quickly. Do it strength, because it's an athletics check, basically. But You do that. Go strength investigate. Have fun.
I drank.
You drink.
So I think actually I kind of maybe have a similar approach. I just brand it differently, which is I just wouldn't call it an investigation check anymore. I would just say, well, if you're using charisma to do it, you're doing a persuasion check. And I think I do that not because it's necessarily the best way to do it, but because I'm training new players.
Yeah, and that's a fair approach. Yeah. I just like the idea that you're good at investigating, but the way you do it, you're not the same proficiency all the time. You know, or you're not a trained investigator. You don't have proficiency in investigation, but you're really charismatic, and that counts for a lot.
Yeah, people like you. They want to tell you things.
It's how they're able to use their skills to their advantage to get the same result.
You know, but there's always the, I think Castle's a perfect example because there's a couple scenes that pop right off my head. It's like supercut of all the cops doing the investigative work in the precinct, and cut to Nathan Fillion sitting around the table with James Patterson actually there, cameoing or something because he's hanging out with his writer buddies, and he's just playing cards and talking about things, and they're like, we know all this information, we're writers, we're just going to figure it out, and they do, and it's like, that's still investigation, but it's not intelligence. It's just he's crowdsourcing it. It's charisma.
It's charisma.
Well, and I think kind of what we're sort of been talking around with all this with tool proficiencies and skills is really the thing that I think we all agree on is that players need to be able to have multiple ways to try to accomplish something.
Other than murder hoboing.
Yes, other than just kill everything.
I like that option, though.
Murder hoboing is very satisfying.
That can be a necessary option.
It's because the rules don't support a non-murder hobo lifestyle.
Yes.
Right, yes, that's kind of where I was getting at, is I feel like it's kind of up to the DM to make sure you're presenting these options, because I think otherwise a lot of people coming in just assume murder hobo is the way to go. Yeah,
the murder hobo. I didn't choose the murder hobo life.
The murder hobo life chose me. And it's, you know what? It's a lot easier to DM. It is. But it's not as satisfying.
Oh, no. The murder hobo? Because then you just keep feeding them monsters.
Yeah, you pull up Kobold Fight Club, you hit generate, and you have a good time.
Yeah.
Like, 4th edition actually had that entire format. They had the Dungeon Delve format and encounters. Mm-hmm. So it came down to.
Because the skill system is just that. It's very straightforward. Because it's usually just check versus like a DC or something.
Yep.
And that's it. Then the situation is resolved. Like 4th edition kind of brought up like skill challenges as a potential, but we don't have that in 5th edition as written. So it's either if the player wants to do something that isn't murder hoboing, you roll the check and you either succeed or fail. That's it.
Well, and I guess in a sense that's still what you're doing when you're fighting monsters, right? You're still rolling versus something and succeeding or failing. I think it's just making it feel meaningful and not just like it was a one-off, I rolled that one die and I spent all this time trying to do something and it worked or it didn't work.
In my mind, the skill system and the downtime system should at least offer a base level support for your character being a real human being with skills and interests aside from murdering things. Because every class boils down to what flavor of murder do you want? Do you want to stab them? Incinerate them?
Fireball.
Or do you want to help your friends murder them?
Yeah, pretty much. That really is what, at the heart of it, I think most people understand the game to be. And
how to kill.
Well, and of course that's a big part of the adventuring life. But I think kind of what we've all brought up in our stories is we all want so much more than that.
Yep.
Yeah. I want real characters.
I think we're at questions.
I think the one you didn't really touch on was the very last one. As DM, you allow a PC to train themselves in a proficiency.
Not just yes, but heck yes.
Well, the thing is, like, we were talking about it earlier, by the rules, 250 days.
250
gold.
And 250 gold. Like, unless you're doing the...
And again, that is 8-hour days?
Yeah, that's a full-time job.
That, like, doing nothing but reading the Forger's Guide for Dummies. Like...
Right.
I believe that's
over and over again.
That's the Key and Peele skit about how they're going to rob a bank.
I guess our take is, especially for these really, I was going to say dumb tool proficiencies, we'll say...
Specific.
No, we'll say we'll say dumb. Potters, we
Dumb.
determined is just dumb. Like, why not? Why can't a player character learn some of this without it taking 250 days? How to make a pot.
A serviceable pot.
Why can't you ease your way in to skill proficiencies? That's something that I do a lot. Is Michael went through this. Michael's in the middle of trying to learn. He was talking about his fighter learning that pocket maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
So I do this with like things, and I also do it with skill proficiencies. Is you're going to learn. At some point you're going to have to actually try to do things to get experience.
Yeah.
Which means you can use your proficiency bonus. You can make the rolls, but I've done it different ways. I've done it. You have to make these rolls, but you can't use a proficiency bonus. And then I've alternately done, you can use your proficiency bonus, but the DCs are going to be higher. And you're going to be met with partial successes, or there's going to be a failure chance or something. It's different for each tool proficiency. Like alchemy, there's a good failure chance thing there.
Yeah.
You know, doing something with, you know, a gaming set is probably just a harder DC. But you have to actually engage with the skill. And you can kind of ease into being able to use it until eventually the training wheels are all off. There's no more conditions on it. You just know it. And I think that's a much more elegant method in my mind.
Yeah, that makes it feel like it's part of the story and not just a thing that happened.
Yeah, I know a thing I've done is just had, just they have no proficiency. So I've done the first method that you talked about, where it's just like, you don't have the proficiency, but if you practice this enough, if you try it enough, if you use it enough, eventually you'll get the proficiency bonus.
Yeah, I just keep track, and I don't let them know. They just have to keep going until eventually they realize, wait, I'm doing it, and he's not bothering me about it anymore.
I'm really making pots, and they're so serviceable.
They're so serviceable.
All those serviceable pots.
I mean, there's also something to be said for just justifying it in fiction. Like, I know that on Critical Role, there's the cleric to the trick to the traveler, right?
Yes.
And she...
In the most recent season.
Yeah, and I don't know if
sure.
she has... I don't know if she has proficiency in, like, painter's tools.
I'm going to guess yes. We'll talk about painting. But she also sketches.
But
She sketches a lot, yeah.
Yeah, no, but what I'm thinking is... because the justification is that she uses that and, like, paints a scene from the day for communing with the god. And I could imagine using something like that as narrative justification for eventually just, giving that. As opposed to saying, I'm going to spend 8 days in front of this potter's wheel. Guy, we have to go into, like, a dungeon. No,
This isn't
guys.
serviceable yet.
It's not good enough.
This is not a serviceable pot.
That is such a good example of a word choice being so important.
Yep.
Serviceable.
We're all like, basically that just means it doesn't have holes in it and it can contain a liquid, I assume. Like, it just gets the job done.
Oh, man.
There's a lot that goes into making a pot, okay? There's the kiln, there's tempering, there's actually playing with clay.
Okay, but...
No, but I feel like the word serviceable is going to become like a new insult word that we can use.
Yeah,
like,
that's making its way into my
serviceable.
lexicon.
You have
like
you made a serviceable attack.
Am I ever going to use the arm again? It'll be serviceable. Oh, no.
So my word for that has been competent up until now.
Are languages non-tool proficiencies? Like, there seems to be very little support for gaining languages, and I know a lot of DMs just don't really use them.
Oh, I've
What do
done
you mean?
it.
You, wait, you study 250 days and 250 gold, and you learn the language, right?
Or Tony, you do what Rachel did in my game.
Yes.
Yep.
You learn to speak, what was it? Giant?
Giant.
Yeah, I was
Giant.
going to say ogre. You learn to speak giant by hanging out with somebody else who speaks giant.
Hi.
Yeah, so
Talk to me
Tony's
like one of your
character's a
giants.
Goliath and speaks giant, and Rachel's character's like, I want to expand my knowledge and learn giant. Is it a complex language? And I'm like,
No.
I don't
Wait.
think so.
So, what you're saying is, if I spend enough time indulging in a foreign literature written in a language that I don't quite understand,
I'm going
maybe
to learn a lot of interesting words.
you're
Yep.
right. So, for example, what was it? In the Burrows, the Duragard romance that you gave. Could I perhaps learn Undercommon because it has a side-by-side literal translation?
What, you're saying it's like people who read Beowulf in real life and they're like, oh yeah, I can read Old English now.
Well, yeah.
Middle English, you swine.
Well,
which is my
exactly.
response every time.
Like on one page you have ye old English, and then on the other page you have the modern translation.
Michael, if you get me into a topic about the thorn and how it was not actually pronounced ye,
No, let's not go down that road. We don't have time. There's no time.
there's no time.
But so for Rachel's character, since she's like, I want to learn Giant, I'm going to make a point of spending time, like, actually learning Giant with Tony's character. Like, we're going to set aside time. We could be doing other stuff and learn this language. She learned it, so she was relatively fluent.
Yeah.
That's fair.
She learned enough that she could kind of, it's the idea of you can get by in,
Basic
I was going to say
conversation.
simple conversation, but that is all of Giant language.
And she
so.
didn't learn to read or write it.
Yeah,
It
just
was
the
just-
speaking part.
Interestingly, I think writing presents an awkward moment for language rules because there are several languages that they say the written components and even sometimes the speaking components
Dwarvish.
are derivative of other languages. For example, I'm not sure about Orcish, but I know all of Goblin is Dwarven runes, but their language. So,
Yeah, I guess you're saying, well, if you're looking at some Goblin script, but you speak Dwarvish.
yeah, it's like
Or
it's
Or you read
familiar.
Dwarvish, yeah.
But it's like taking the alphabet and turning it upside down.
Maybe. I don't know. That's the thing. There's no good rule support for languages, much like the rest of things that are not murder.
Or,
Yeah.
as Rachel was saying, you just get comprehend languages and the whole thing's moot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wow. Magic initiate. Great.
No longer a problem. Forget all languages.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like I said, I got around that problem in my campaign by making sure that my Fallen Empire, because there's always one, I wanted to run a traditional D&D campaign, my Fallen Empire went really, really hard on repatriating everyone across the entire continent. They just up and relocated families and made sure all the races mixed, and I should say, I like the new Pathfinder term, ancestries, instead of races. Sidebar, I think that's
No, I think it's great.
Finally.
We hate races.
Yes.
We hate it so much.
finally
Yeah.
a good term, because it's so awkward to talk about species. Ancestries
yeah.
is great. So people of all
Ancestries.
manner of ancestries, they clodged together and said, you are now part of the Empire. You are not part of what you were before. And also, here is how to speak our language, which I don't even have a name for it anymore. I guess it
Latin.
would be, it's not Latin.
You're
Common.
describing.
But it became
Yeah.
common because it was the common tongue
Yes.
of the Empire. And they made everyone learn it. And that's why common exists.
Yeah.
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 So boom, I've solved that problem. Most people on the continent will speak common. And also, you solve the problem of dwarves speaking Scottish by all being Scottish by saying that's just what Dwarven sounds like if you learn English or common as a second language.
Yeah.
So I was looking up really quickly. Of all of the standard languages, Dwarvish takes up 6 different creature languages in script. That's in Dwarvish, in Giant, Gnomish, Goblin, and Orcish.
Wow.
I was
Are all Dwarven script.
because
So you're saying, like,
they put stuff to
Dwarvish-
stone.
It's like the Greek of the languages, like, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be
they
a
are the
researcher-
Rosetta Stone. Like
Yeah.
Oh, also Primordial is Dwarvish script.
What?
No, Dwarven is
Spit
primordial script. That's what you're saying. What you're saying
What does it
is
actually say in the rules? Tony?
I'm looking at page 123 in the player's guide. It has standard languages, which it breaks down for the language, the typical speakers, and then the script. Common is humans and common. It's also the script for halflings, whereas Elvish has Elvish, and Sylvan and Undercommon.
Okay.
The
The only other type of script is Infernal, Celestial, and Draconic.
and then everything else.
Otherwise,
is Dwarven.
it's all Dwarven.
Okay,
That's
but
so weird.
But primordial
I know.
came before
Yeah.
Dwarven.
No, don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't overthink it.
No, wait. The primordials never needed to write anything. It was only
Right.
after the dwarves were created and began to put things to stone that the primordials found use for passing their messages on to dwarves and adopted their language. I have DM'd my way out of this logical inconsistency.
go.
I can move on with my life.
You don't have to keep going around and around a circle on it.
That would have kept me up tonight.
Like, I am happy.
We didn't talk about the price for all the various different tools and everything, but I think the main question is there any value as a player character to just buy up all of the tools if you have the cash?
As written?
Yeah, because then you can at least have...
I should say as written, yes, because money is meaningless. You have so much of it.
Yeah,
Yep.
just do it.
So you might as well buy yourself some leatherworkers tools, just in case.
Yes, if your DM cares about encumbrance, or he's the kind of guy that goes, "Where are you keeping all those glass vials?"
Yeah.
Then no, because it will never matter.
Disagree, actually. I would say that if you are in enough scratch that you can afford every single tool on the list,
Buy a hireling.
buy a hireling. Buy two hirelings.
You're
Buy
right.
buy those.
Buy a retinue. Yeah.
Buy two hirelings that have as many tool proficiencies as possible. Have them hang out in the back, repair your gear, get a little gnome. He's automatically gonna have tinker tools, and just have him put pots and pans on all of your armor, and you're done.
So you want to subcontract out all of that side of the whole
Great.
thing.
Sending our work overseas.
Why
Good
am
job.
why am I, a powerful PC who's mostly focused on murdering people, going to waste a valuable feat on skilled when I can simply pay 10 silver? Or hold on, he's looking up how much it actually costs to hire a hireling.
Oh, you are correct.
It depends.
Is it really 10 silver?
I don't know. I'm finding out, man.
But
Expenses?
Tony, are you
Here we
getting
go.
It skilled is 2 gold per day, untrained is 2 silver per day.
And that's
Okay.
just for any, basically?
yeah.
The hireling.
Okay.
So 2 gold a day for a hireling? Come on, that's like a
Easy.
jewel.
Easy.
Not
So you're
even.
saying you get your potter, you have all the pots you need.
No. You get
You get your tinker.
you get the polyglot of tool proficiencies. You get the guy who did nothing but hang out at the YMCA
You find
and
that
take
guy.
every one of their courses. He has 1 level in Weaver, 1 level in Potter, 1 level in Smith. Just he is useless in nothing, but just
Slightly helpful
crafting.
in everything?
Yes,
So you
exactly.
mean basically the character I play in any sort of PC RPG, any sort of game. I always I want to do a bit of everything, and then my
Yeah.
character sucks in general because I did everything.
Overall.
That's
Does
who
anyone
I
remember,
am.
Specialty.
remember that Skyrim comic while you were crafting, the Draugr were training?
Yep. That's definitely me as a player. I'm let me go around and let me make a home. That's a good use of my time as the Dragonborn.
Yeah. Shout out to
Yes.
the $135 I spent on Matt Colville's Strongholds and Followers Kickstarter just so that I could actually support Michael's fantasy of hiring all of the people to do my things for me.
Yes, do my bidding. So
Use
we've just
tools, be flexible, ignore what's written. Wait, this is rules as written. Sorry,
Yeah.
go ahead.
yeah. No, I would say read Xanathar's guide for the tool proficiencies.
Yes.
Yes.
Especially
Xanathar's guide
if
is
you're-
huge.
It's
It's
so
worth
good.
it though.
So
It's
good.
a good. It's.
I
we
meant
were
huge
super
as
excited.
as a positive.
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
It's been so nice. I'm finally getting through it and reading all of the tips and everything on it. I've loved.
And the
having
encounter
Xanathar's
building
guides.
makes sense.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'd almost say read the Xanathar's guide if you haven't read the rulebooks before you read the DMG. In a lot of senses, it'll help you.
Yeah. And then read it again after and just assume Xanathar's guide is where they played the game for a few years and went, oh.
Oh.
This is what works. Got it.
Yeah. So I think overall we're all of the same mind that read what's written, use it to guide you, and then
Do what you want.
needs to be do what needs to be done.
Do what's right by the story. Be flexible. And always remember, keep your pot serviceable.
So I think the last thing we have to do as part of the actual episode recording is to thank you both for joining us.
Yes, thank you guys.
And we're looking forward to hearing your podcast when it comes out.
Thanks. It was a pleasure to be here and just goof off talking about rules.
Yeah, glad, you let us come on and let our nerd flag fly.
So make sure to check out on Podbean the Bookwyrms podcast. And that's Bookwyrms, BOOKWYRMS. In the meantime, though, here's the trailer for the Bookwyrms podcast.
Hey there, everybody. My name is Giuseppe,
And I'm Mike.
and we're here to tell you about our new show launching in May, the
Bookworms
Bookworms Podcast.
We're 2 longtime game masters, and we've been taking turns running D&D 5th edition. It's a blast, but no game is perfect.
Each time we start up a game, we end up reaching into other systems to put together the exact experience we're looking for.
This podcast is about helping you do the same thing. Each week, we'll do the legwork and talk about how different systems do their thing.
We've got a veritable horde of RPGs between us to draw from, and each episode will be looking to grant you inspiration from some of the best minds in gaming.
We don't just stop at mechanics, though. We'll also talk about different genres and how you can fit them into your game.
And if you've been looking for some new magic items to shake up your plot or reward your players, you can join us as we explore treasure troves from a wide variety of media.
We'll also give you characters you can use on either side of the table. Sometimes it'll tie into the topic of the week. Other times it'll tie into a cool book we read.
Here's a brief list of things that we think can be immediately improved with a bi-weekly dose of Bookwyrms.
Chases.
Political intrigue.
Investigations.
City management.
Gardening.
Illegal pit fighting.
Heists.
Time travel.
Gambling.
Wizard poker.
Pottery. And so much more.
You can subscribe to us anywhere you would normally get your podcasts from.
We're the Bookwyrms.
And we'll be seeing you soon.